I was standing on the back line waiting to go out on the scene, and I started to get dizzy, and like the room started to sway a bit, and I was like, "Oh, this is odd."
TikTok in China is very aspirational. It's kids solving Rubik's Cubes in like 15 seconds. But for us, candy corn and cotton candy. And
Wow.
that's what they're feeding to us.
I'd watch a kid solve a Rubik's Cube.
Hey guys, this is the Actor's Guide to the End of the World, where we talk about acting in Hollywood in a way people understand. I'm your host, E-Kan Song. This is Rían Kelly.
How you doing? How's it going, man?
Doing all right. So today we're on the show. We're talking about the TikTok ban, which had new developments this week. We're also talking about new things that scare us. Rían just tried a Commedia dell'arte workshop for the first time. And I'm going to talk about starting Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. And we're just going to talk about being a beginner again and all the things that we learned.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Is craft services the only time you eat a decent meal?
Do you feel a little ashamed walking off set with fistfuls of brisket?
Meet Crafty Bag, the stylish and environmentally conscious way to steal food from set.
There are no limits with Crafty Bag. You can go from fig Newtons to filet mignon.
Now comes in green screen. Crafty Bag is not waterproof. Spillage may occur. And as always, follow us wherever you find your podcast, at Actors Guide Podcast, and on all social media.
Friendster, like MySpace, Bebo.
Napster.
You guys didn't have Bebo, I don't think, did you?
No, I never even heard of that.
Bebo was like the precursor to Instagram here in Ireland and I believe the UK. But it was
Wow.
wild. It was the best form of social media.
Wow, whatever happened to them? Are they still around?
No, they died. Somebody bought them, I think, and then that didn't last too long.
Kaput?
But it was great.
Well, either way, they got paid.
Yeah, you could draw on people's walls. You could give someone your love for the day, but only once a day, like a little heart. It was
That's
mental. It was actually
hilarious.
enjoyable social media.
I bet. That sounds fun. Actually, that's a good segue for what we're going to talk about today for word around town. So this week, TikTok just got one step closer to being banned in the U.S.
That's a big deal.
TikTok users could have a few more weeks to enjoy scrolling through January 19th, 2025. The U.S. Appeals Court upheld the law that requires TikTok to be sold off from its Chinese parent company ByteDance or face a ban. So it's basically forcing a sell. I mean, this has been ongoing. I'm kind of shocked because I kind of thought that it wouldn't really go anywhere, but this has been ongoing for a while. And here we are.
That's a big deal. Yeah. I don't really use TikTok, but I know people who swear by it. You're on TikTok, right?
I'm casually on it. I'm not really a TikTok user.
Like, and is it being banned on? This is on security grounds. I mean, allegedly, right? That's the.
To talk, like, we're not going to deep dive into all this political stuff, but as a Chinese person, you know, this is kind of conflicting. Obviously, there are some tensions between US and China. We don't really know what's real, but it's easy to sell to the American citizens, hey, this is a point of national security. We need to ban this. Why don't we attack this super popular app and help American companies like Meta and Google? Like, that's competition. I mean,
Yeah,
it's safe to say, right? Because it's like, there's a million American interests or U.S. interests to say, hey, this super popular Chinese app that's destroying all of our social media, why don't we want to try to get rid of it? Money behind the scenes that could be part of this conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem to me like Google or Meta need much help. They seem to be doing okay.
That brings up the exact point. Reels came about because TikTok was so popular.
Yeah.
That was literally, hey, let's make our platform, let's use some features that were like TikTok and incorporate, and it's working because it's getting us to stay on the phone.
Totally, because stories and reels, like, because the scrolling through posts on Instagram now is a painful experience, because you'll get like one friend's post and then you get a load of sponsored posts. You can't even find the stuff your friends post, which is what it was for in the first place.
You're completely right. Instagram is kind of painful at times because you're not in control of what you want to see. So it's ultimately, can the users get what they want to see? And it goes back to TikTok algorithm is dominating because it actually gets people what they really wanted to see, at least for the time being. So,
All I know is that, these days you'd have to strap me to a chair and hold my eyes open like a Clockwork Orange to make me read a book, which is so frustrating because my concentration is so bad.
actually, that brings up a great point. You got to hand it to China, though. It's kind of brilliant. The TikTok that they're putting in America is what we know of it. It's polarizing, it's addictive. TikTok in China is very aspirational. I'm talking about it's kids solving Rubik's Cubes in like 15 seconds. It's the most
Wow.
aspirational, positive stuff they're watching. But for us, it's like candy, it's like candy corn and cotton candy. And
Wow.
that's what they're feeding to us. So, I mean, you can't,
Wow.
you got to hand it to them. You got to hand it to them. The one thing I will say
I'd
is
watch a kid solve a Rubik's Cube.
dude, I would too. But they keep all the good stuff for them. Anyway, the one thing I will say is it's just very timely. Um, Apparently there was a huge cyber hack of U.S. networks, apparently by China this week. I don't know if you knew that. So,
Oh.
so I have to be fair here, where they very well could be hacking us all the time. Apparently, Apple to Android texts were in danger this week. The FBI put out a mass warning saying, "Hey, uh, this communication is unencrypted, and you should be very careful." I don't even know what we were supposed to do with that. It's basically if your iPhone don't text with Androids or whatever, maybe
That
use
sounds like an
WhatsApp.
Apple scam. Apple's like, don't text anybody with an Android. They're not clean. They're not
Yeah,
safe.
yeah. Maybe that's exactly what it is. So Android to
Yeah.
Android was apparently okay. iPhone to iPhone was okay, but apparently if you like blur the lines, it was insecure or not secure. So
So sounds really childish, doesn't
I know, right? You know how like iPhone people are always like, "Oh my God, this I have to text the Android person and their text turn green." This is like bringing it back to those days. We just can't get along. We can't get along still. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
If it's blue, good for you. If it's green, be a little mean.
Yeah. So we'll see. Trump apparently says he will never ban TikTok. We'll see if that's for real. And Biden has the choice to give them 90 days extension. And it's unlikely he'll do that. But anyway, so
God,
interesting. We'll see that.
it's all shite though, isn't it? I mean, like if it's not TikTok, it'll be something else. There'll be some other like scrolly distraction where you just sink your life into it. Like,
Now, here's the thing. It's like devil's advocate. There are a lot of people who make their income on TikTok. Now, there are a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of businesses who
yeah,
are
true.
leveraged on Instagram and Facebook. So, it's easy for us as non-TikTok users to be like, hey, good riddance. But, there are a lot of people who feel strongly about this issue because their business is riding on this.
Fair enough. Great. Now I feel bad. Um, Actually, just to our talking about social media and concentration, and our last episode when we talked about how much TV we watch or don't watch, a friend of mine messaged me and she said she's an actor and wishes that there was a person on there to counter our point of view because we sort of had the same thing because she does watch a lot of shows and watches a lot of TV. So she felt
Ah,
aggrieved that we were too closely aligned on that issue.
wow. Okay.
So
Well, here's the thing. We love the feedback. We want to hear what people think. You're completely right. Sometimes we're going to agree on issues and sometimes we're not. Um, but I would love to do a follow-up episode talking about the counterpoint to that.
yep. So there you go, Emma. You've been heard. You have a voice.
Okay, so that's word around town. We'll keep an eye on that. And we're moving on. So, um, some some new things. This week was very adventurous, more for Rian. So Rian, so tell us about this workshop you did. So you did a Commedia dell'arte. That's
No, you
a
got it. Yeah, it's still arte. Yeah, because it's Italian. It's an Italian. It originated in Italy. This style of theater. But there's a company in Dublin called Corn Exchange, and they do shows in this style and Commedia style. And it, for anybody who doesn't know, which is probably a lot of people, the style of theater is it's done in what they call mask, which is basically painted faces. So your face is painted in like a mask.
If you're listening to the audio on YouTube, we're going to show pictures of Rian in makeup and in costume just to give you an idea.
Generally with an expression of some kind, like the eyebrows will sort of give away if it's like an angry expression or a surprised expression or a sad, or happy. But it's a fairly very distinctive kind of a mask look, and everything is done. So when two characters are on stage, say everything is presented to the audience, and only one person is talking out at a time. But say you're in the front row, and my eyes are looking at you, and I'm talking to you. I'm actually talking to the person I'm on stage with, but I'm just looking out. So everything is presented out, and then when they speak, I look at them and they look out, and then they speak. It's almost like a dance. The movements are so, it's like listening with your whole body, where you're matching the movements of your partner, your scene partner, whoever you're on stage with, and they're looking out and you're looking out. And
this is completely new to me, probably even newer to me. I don't know much about this art form. I've definitely heard of it. So it was really popular throughout Europe between the 16th and 18th centuries. Is this kind of um, an offshoot of? Do they connect this with clown work?
no,
It's not connected to that.
it's not clown work. I can see why it's similar. I could see the similarities, but it's not the best. One of a really great note that I got early on in the week where we were doing scenes, and she's like, "Play it for real," and he was like, "Play it for real," even though it's heightened and even though it can be comedic, but it's not necessarily comedic. You know what I mean? It can be tragic. It can be like anything, but it's very. It's almost filmic in the way that the audience is sort of directed frame by frame into what they're supposed to see. Like you're looking at this character, and when they react to something that the other character does, like they call it passing the food, where you basically you pass the attention back and forth.
It sounds like from everything that you're saying, the style and the art form, it's just very clear. It's
Yeah.
clear to the audience. It's clear
Yes.
who these characters are. It's clear to even the synchronization of facing away and then facing towards the person who's speaking. Everything is coordinated to be super clear for the audience member. And I would love that because
Oh,
I
it's
think
great.
that's what good TV and film and good directing is. It's meant to be super clear for the audience that you are really captivated by the story and it launches you into the story. So this sounds amazing. It sounds really cool. So that kind of gets to what we're talking about today. So this idea of being a beginner and trying something new, how out of your comfort zone were you?
It was.
How new was the experience? Is kind of like what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. It was pretty far out in the sense that, well, look, I've done improvisation before. I did went through the improvisation conservatory at Second City in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So I have experience, I have experience in those areas. This was such a new style that it was really about getting to grips with it. You know what I mean? Like it was so much because it is very physical. So it's kind of, I was a bit sick this week as well, which didn't help. So it's kind of, my energy was a bit low, but it's a very physical style of theater. So it takes a lot of physical energy, but at the same time, you're trying to kind of get it into your head as well. As like, what is this thing? What is this brand new thing? And you have and then by sort of day three, we're playing with the masks and the makeup. So now you're like putting on, like you start off with like a white face, and then you draw the mask on after that with colors and like do the eyebrows and stuff. So it was very, very new. I think it helped that a lot of people in this, that most people in the workshop this week were also new. But it was pretty far outside my comfort zone. I had to just keep telling myself, go out there and fail, go out there and fail. And because I do predominantly, work on screen, it sort of put me in my body in a way that I don't always get with film, that I forget sometimes that it's your whole body involved in these things. And even though the stakes are heightened, it's you don't have to move your body frantically. You know, you can feel it in your whole body and embody it, but it doesn't have to be big. So I think it works for film as well. Really helped me as an actor just break through some, you know, some barriers maybe that I think I felt like I needed to kind of just do something out there.
Dude, this is so great. We haven't talked about this in depth, but this is exactly what I kind of wanted to touch on because I felt a lot of parallels with what you experienced with what I experienced when I was starting Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But the way that you're describing Commedia dell'arte, um, it reminds me of kind of like what we talk about over at Leslie's. It's a combination of the technical and the organic. And so you had all the organic, and they were telling you, hey, keep it real, be grounded, have these real emotions, be a human being. Yet there's so many technical aspects that you had to wrap your head around with the makeup, with the costume, how clear and specific everything was, the movements, the energy. That was asking a certain thing from you that you needed to let go despite all your hesitations. Yet also, you had all the experience as an actor with the organic from all the years before. So it's just combining those two worlds and letting it go and performing with the people that you're on stage with and by yourself.
Absolutely. And the key thing there is like you said, is letting it go. Because if you if you're coming out with a pre-planned idea, you're like, oh, my character could be this, or a story in your head, it doesn't work because you're not listening. You're coming out with an agenda, and it just, you can see when it doesn't work, and you can see when people come out and go, fuck it, let's see what happens,
And
and just play.
that's a great lesson because that happens in film and TV. That's exactly what happens in film and TV. You check out when you see an actor just pre-planning something. Um, so jumping into this, and I want to hear what you think because it was a very similar experience. Um, it took me a while, but over the past 2 years or so, on and off, I've been doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But that was my version of being a beginner again. And this is kind of like what I want to talk about today,
Mm.
the value of being a beginner. So for people that don't know Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it's become super popular. So it's becoming much more mainstream than say 7 8 years ago. But this is it's a martial arts art form where you're essentially quote unquote rolling on a mat. There's a lot of grappling. There's a lot of chokes. You're not striking each other in the face, which is great for actors. And you know what I mean. You can go. That's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's great for actors because I don't have to go to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and you might get hit. You have to protect your face, but you're not going there thinking that you're going to get an uppercut or like a roundhouse or whatever to the face. The past year and a half that I've been doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it unlocked something in me where I realize only now it was the first time where I felt like truly was trying something new, truly was a beginner. And I stuck with it to actually quote unquote get it. I probably took it once 10 years ago. I took a free class. I was basically sweating over this guy, dripping sweat, sitting on top of him. And I'm like, this is so gross. I don't get it. I never did it again for 10 years. And I was like, whatever, just be done with it. I never got past that stage of actually understanding it. After all these years, I realized there was nothing I was doing that really was challenging myself, that really was making me scared. Now, you could say that, hey, acting is really scary and really challenging. Of course it is. There's so much unknown in Hollywood and all this stuff. But let's be serious. It's like, we've been doing it for a while. You know that the industry is going to fluctuate. There's a lot that's out of our control. We're in control of what we can control, and we do our best and we work on it. Other than that, it's not as scary as doing Commedia dell'arte freaking dressed up in clown mask. And it's definitely not as hard as freaking Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. To put in perspective, I am, not a huge guy. I'm literally rolling around with guys twice my weight. I'm literally rolling around with guys 300 pounds. And, obviously in general, they want to match you up with the person that of similar size. But I've been going for a while where there's some people that I
Wow.
can actually roll with that are literally 300 pounds. Meaning that a guy, because there's a sense of trust, there's a sense of understanding that we're here to get better. We're not here to kill each other. And if you need to tap or give up or submit, then you just tap them. There's no ego. It's like, hey, you're 300 pounds. You probably should choke me out. I'm not going to have this existential crisis because this 300-pound guy just choked me out. It's like, you should choke me out. We're learning. We're getting better. So this idea that this 300 pound guy is literally on you, choking your neck. This is the closest thing that I'm getting to facing death. Do you know what I mean? So I think what I'm getting at is I realized, I thought I was adventurous. I thought I was challenging myself in new ways. And not until I actually really did challenge myself did I realize, oh my God, for so many years I was playing it safe. For so many years I was like, this is what, like, to actually show up to the gym 3-4 times a day. It's like, I'm scared out of my mind. I was like, I'm tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I got so much other stuff to do. Dude, I am officially addicted to this. I am officially addicted. And I'll never forget, there was one guy, there's some real badasses at the gym. There's this one guy, and he was definitely experienced enough. Ironically, I think he's Scottish. So he has a badass accent, and of course his name is Gareth. Badass guy, talked like a Jedi, and every day when you saw him and he said bye, he basically just said, remember, every day on the mat is a day getting better. Literally, that was his mantra. And yeah, it was so intense. I was like, dude, we never even met, but okay, you're freaking me out. I was like, dude, I'm already freaked out. You're just freaking me more out. But that was in my brain. Every day on the mat is a day getting better. Every day on the mat.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love the idea that of finding out that, wait, I am in my comfort zone. I'm not as adventurous as I thought I was. I am playing it safe.
I was getting thrown around. I had to admit, I don't know what I'm doing. And to give kind of like what you were saying as far as this idea of dance and freeing the body and all that, I am not a dancer. I didn't grow up in the theater. I was always comfortable doing athletics and sports. Yoga was never a stress for me. I was always flexible. It wasn't even challenging for me. But when I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because it's essentially, in a way, kind of a dance, okay? You're kind of attacking and positionally attacking each other, but it's so, the physicality is so exact. It's almost like we're playing chess with each other with our bodies. It's like playing chess mentally, but it's like surfing physically. So only when I did this, it was kind of exactly what you're saying, where only when I did this physically did I realize how tense I was. I was super tense. The main realization with all the everyone who is more experienced, all the black belts, all the teachers, they're like, E-Kan, you're not breathing. You're not breathing. And here I am, like a freaking little, like a newbie white belt. I'm holding on for dear life. And they're like, E-Kan, you're too tense. I was like, no, I'm relaxed. I'm relaxed. I'm like holding on for dear life. And then I realized, oh my God, it completely changed everything.
Yeah.
It changed my acting. I was tense in my acting for years. And I just told myself, no, I'm fine. I'm relaxed. I'm relaxed. I didn't know what relaxation was until I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I think that's kind of like what we're getting into as far as this idea of being a beginner. Do we have this freedom and just fuck it mentality to be saying, I'm not holding on to trying to be good. Let me just see what happens and let go.
And particularly getting back into the body, and learning that you're tense all the time and that you don't breathe. I had that experience in at Second City. I think I auditioned for the touring company, and I was standing on the back line. The way they do it is like they bring 3 people out for a 3-person scene, and it was my first improv audition properly. You have to audition to get into the conservatory, and then you audition again at sort of level 3. But I think this is the first time I'd auditioned since I got out, and I didn't get it, and I didn't do much more improv after that. But I was standing on the back line waiting to go out on the scene, and I started to get dizzy, and like the room started to sway a bit, and I was like, "Oh, this is odd." I'm like, "Why am I getting dizzy?" And I realized then I was holding my breath. I was so nervous. I wasn't even breathing. So I was just and so what was the hardest thing about it? Was it just the fear of it? Was it learning the technique? Was it just the mental side?
Dude, that's a great question. I had a strong sense of pride. I had a strong sense of ego. And most of the things that I did and most of the things that people do are things that they're good at because we feel better about our identity, we feel better about our self-worth. And there's also some natural sense of competition where it's you and one other person. You're looking into the eyes of one other person, whether it's a guy or girl. There's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
intensity where it's me or
yeah.
you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna choke you out, or you're gonna choke me out. When you play chess, it's one on one. I grew up playing tennis. I was always doing things that were one on one. When you're in the middle of a match, um, you have nowhere to hide. It's me or you, and very well one of us may crumble.
Absolutely. And I think the key to it is sort of the humility to go and be a beginner, you know? And if you don't have the humility at the beginning, you'll get it pretty quick, you know, when you fail over and over. And funny you talked about sports because I played a lot of sports as well growing up, you know. I played soccer primarily, and I didn't always want the ball. I didn't always have the belief in myself. I had a kind of a lot of negative self-talk on the pitch. When I found acting, I found that I always wanted the ball, and I always want the ball now. I always want the most. I always want the biggest roles. I want the most pressure. I love it. Like I really get a buzz out of that. You know, I'll try anything. I'll give it a shot. I'm not shy about it.
I remember you saying something like that before, and mention this. It's definitely a pitch for the benefits of acting. When I used to play piano growing up, that was my only thing in the performative arts. I was definitely not an actor. I was actually very shy. I had extreme stage fright playing piano growing up, crippling in a way sometimes. I don't get that with acting at all. And so looking back on it, I so wish that I was acting and performing at a younger age because I think I would have been more free in my body and I would have been more open with the audience and been able to connect. But I think it's important for everyone to actually take an acting class, get used to communicating, take a communications class, and just open up those boundaries whether you're going to be a professional actor or not because it would have made a lot, it would have changed my childhood and my younger years, you know what I mean? The one thing I will want to say, you brought up humility. I think that touches on a great thing, considering that we're talking to a lot of actors. And I think that there's something beautiful as far as acknowledging that we don't know something. Like that's kind of a great thing as an actor, because there's so many times that I felt, as an actor, you look at the scene and you look at the character and you're like, I know who this is. I know what's going on
Yeah.
here. I don't need to go through all the steps as far as digging deeper and going into, using your creativity or imagination. And then that's kind of like why some performances are a little more boring, cliche, stock, generic, what have you, one note, because they didn't go deeper. They didn't go further. They didn't use their creativity and explore, oh, what could this could possibly be this. And so it's easy to fall into that trap of, yeah, I've been doing this. I know these things. Let me just do the safe and consistent choice versus saying, hey, I don't know everything here. I don't know what this project is. Could this mean this? Why is this in the scene?
Absolutely. And I think the problem, problems arise certainly for me when ego gets involved. And that's a constant battle. You have to, because like the ego for me is rooted in fear. It's fear of like what other people think of me. It's fear of not getting something I want, or I think I need, or losing something I have. So like that's humility is like the opposite of that. And I think that's where I need to be. And it's just an everyday kind of back and forth, back and forth, you know.
I do want to end one last thing. When you do something that's really hard, and to be honest, sports, working out, going to the gym, really pushing the body. 300 pounds, like you realize how weak you are when you're tired and you're scared. When you do something really hard, everything else seems easy.
That's great. Look at us out there in the world trying things, just doing things, just living our lives and doing things.
All right, so we're gonna do hidden gems. My hidden gem, I actually just heard about it. It's called Sway Thrift Shop, incredible thrift shop here in Los Angeles. It's a clothes recycle program that is also a thrift shop. A fully circular textile recycling program collects textile waste from the community, repurposing it into remade apparel and home goods. And it's a way to get rid of clothes that you don't want or you think that other people could get value out of. It sounds like a really cool store. I'm going to check it out.
Nice.
So that's my hidden gem.
I hate this bit.
You should pub your theater.
Okay, my hidden gem is directly related to what I talked about today, but if you get the chance to do a corn exchange workshop with Annie Ryan in the style of Commedia dell'arte, absolutely do it. It only happens twice a year. It's in Dublin. That's my hidden gem, which is, I understand, not hidden.
Hey, I think that workshop is a hidden gem. So if anything, we could give more love to it and more people to know about it. You don't have a website, do you? We'll put a website in the show description. It's funny. I actually wanted to add on to this because we were talking about a lot of cooking thing. I made my cheesecake twice for 2 house parties. Thanksgiving, I was out of practice. It had a teeny bit less sugar, right? People liked it. They weren't raving about it. And I was secretly livid, right? There was a cherry pie that was with the buffet. And someone said, "Oh my God, E-Kan, your cheesecake with that cherry from the cherry pie, the most magical combination." And I'm secretly thinking, "Oh my God, my cheesecake is enough. I don't know why I don't need cherry." And I was secretly pissed about it, right? But I was like, no, I need the feedback. The people have spoken. So I made the cheesecake for a house party last night for a holiday party. I upped the sugar to the perfect amount. I cannot tell you how much people were raving about it. Like it made my night. I had people from Philadelphia and South Jersey saying, "We're from Philly. This is the best cheesecake I've ever had." Anyway, I had to share that because I'm still glowing about that from last night. Anyway, this is just giving love to our cooking hidden gems from previous episodes. Go check them out.
That's great. That's great.
All right, guys. That's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us and see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, maybe give a like, maybe subscribe. It helps people find the podcast. Also, if you didn't catch last week's episode, it's right over here. Don't worry, we'll wait.